Hey everyone, welcome to the Yoga in Black podcast. If you're not new, however, welcome back. I'm Tierney, your host, and this show is all about the experiences of Black yoga and wellness professionals. Each episode, I'm joined with a new guest, and we'll just have a conversation between two peers about our experiences within the yoga and wellness industries, and also highlight where you can find their classes. At the forefront, this show is all about letting you know that Black folks are out here in this wellness industry doing amazing things that you can experience. So with that said, grab your favorite beverage. You know I got mine in the favorite mug. And let's have a chat. This is your friendly reminder that all episodes of this podcast are pre-recorded and some topics or events discussed may be outdated. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hey y'all, Editor Tierney here, and just wanted to give you a heads up. This is another one with a little bit of lag in both the audio and the visual. So if it sounds like I am cutting my guest off at times, I am not. I am not interrupting her. I was hearing her in real time, but for whatever reason, audio and video just aren't syncing up quite as well as I would like them to. And I'm doing the best I can with the editing here. So thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate it very much. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Yoga in Black podcast. As always, you're here with me, Tierney. But this week, I've got Dr. Latora Grant-Scott with me. And as always, this show is about everyone that is a guest here. So I'm shutting up. Dr. Latora, please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you so much, first of all, Terry, for having me on the podcast. I am so excited to be here. As you said, my name is Dr. Latora Grant-Scott. I am a registered nurse. I've been a registered nurse for 28 years and 8 months. So I've been a registered nurse a long time. I am a yoga instructor. I mostly teach anatomy, so anatomy for yoga teacher training.
Nice. That is an important piece because it's come up quite a few times in the recordings that I've had this season that anatomy is one of the more challenging pieces of yoga teacher training. And I agree. I think the only reason I enjoyed it so much is because I did have some experience with it in college. I took, I cannot remember. I think it was a human anatomy course. Couple times. I enjoyed it though. I'm a big nerd for stuff like that.
So am I. I am definitely a sciencey girl. So I love it. Love it.
Yes. So tell me a little bit more about what your day-to-day looks like being in the medical world and also in the yoga space.
So I don't work in the hospital setting anymore. So I used to do that. I was in the hospital setting for a long time, but I currently work actually in the biopharmaceutical space, but I work supporting cardiovascular health because I'm a cardiovascular nurse. I'm a certified heart failure nurse. So I work in the cardiovascular space doing research for cardiovascular therapies. And so my day-to-day, I work from home most of the time, but I travel. So I travel and go out and speak with other clinicians that are interested in doing research with us. And the yoga piece comes in. I started yoga for my own personal wellness journey, of course, to keep myself stable and blood pressure under control, mental status, everything. And it evolved into the Nurse Doc is Zen. So the Nurse Doc is Zen is my business that I own. So I have my 9-to-5, and then I own the Nurse Doc is Zen. And so under that, I connect with local studios and teach their anatomy piece for the yoga teacher training. Because like you said, a lot of times people hate that part. They don't like to teach that part. And so I step in and teach that. And then I also work with private clients they use yoga as a form of wellness. So they actually have chronic disease, and we're using it as a wellness plan. My longest standing client is a 2-time kidney recipient, so kidney transplant recipient, and her doctor wrote in her chart that she's supposed to continue doing yoga until he tells her to stop. So I work with clients that have kind of chronic conditions. So.
Nice. I love that that's part of her prescription. Like, keep doing the yoga until somebody tells you to stop or until you decide.
Yeah.
That is awesome. It is very helpful, though, in so many areas. And the fact that you get to combine both the medical aspect and, just the things that have been, carried through yoga through the years, or I won't even say the years, the ages.
Yes.
That's really cool to be able to have that back you up, because a lot of times folks just get real, yoga is either only this physical thing or it's way too woo-woo. And it's like, no, there are these benefits here. And now I've got a doctor here to tell me. So that is so awesome.
And not just the physical benefits, too. Not just the physical benefits, the emotional, psychological. Some of the things that I do, too, is teaching people how to reset their PNS system. It's like you need to down-regulate. That's why your stress level. So it's not just the physical part of it, too. So definitely.
Absolutely. Where are you located again?
So I'm actually based in Cedar Hill, Texas. So I'm actually in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Nice. That's what I thought. I don't know why, for some reason, I thought you were not in Texas, but I'm like, no, she is. She definitely is. Yeah. I've met so many people through the last couple of years that it's hard to keep track. But man, y'all make life so enriching, and I'm having the time of my life with this. So thank you for being a part of it. I really do appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you bringing attention to other yoga teachers of color. I just love that. Like, we're spread out all over the place. We're doing different things, but kind of the same. It's wonderful. I just thank you for bringing this space forward. So.
Oh, yes. You're so welcome. So let's take it back to when you first started practicing. What, besides the things that you already talked about, what else drew you into it, and what was that experience like for you taking yoga for the first time?
So what drew me into yoga, like really deep into it, I was actually going through a divorce, and I was having a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. Blood pressure was out of control. And so I was trying to do something to actually calm me. And I had dabbled in yoga a little bit here and there. But then I was like, you know what, I got to get serious. And so when I first started, I started using YouTube videos because I was like, I just know when I'm ever going to a class. First of all, I'm an old lady, and I'm just not going to a class. I'm just not. Oh, no. And so I'm just not. And so I finally, about after a year, I got the courage to actually go to a class. And the first class that I went to, the yoga instructor was a young Black girl. It was amazing. Did not know that, and kind of connected with her. And then I started continually going into her classes. And then after about maybe 4 months, because I would always go in the back, in the corner, just give a look. I came into class one day and she was like, no, you're coming up front today. I was like, what did I do? What did I do? She was like, you didn't do anything, but we have a lot of new students and you've been coming, so you kind of know the flow. And so I meet you up front. And I was like, yeah, no. And she said, no, come ahead. And so I did. Oh. And then after that, she encouraged me to continue my practice, and I continued my personal practice. And then I was doing that, and I said, well, I'll go to a yoga teacher training because that's that geek in me. I want to know all the ins and outs. And so I went through my yoga teacher training, just personal, wasn't going to ever teach anybody or do anything. And at another studio where I was, the owner was talking. I was leaving out one day, the owner was talking, and she was saying, I got my cohort coming through, and, in about 2 weeks, yoga anatomy is coming up. I hate teaching yoga anatomy. And she was like, that's just the worst part. She's like, I got to do it, whatever. And at this point, I'm a certified yoga teacher, right? And I was like, yeah, keep it moving. I'm not stopping. I'm not going to say anything. And then I came back another class, and she was talking about it again. And I was like, and so I said to her, I said, well,
she was throwing hints.
I don't know that she was, because I don't think she knew what I did or anything. I just would come to class and leave. I had never. And so I said, well, look, I have my certification. I've been, at that time, I think I've been a registered nurse, I think 25 years at that time. I was like, I got anatomy down. Okay. I got it. I can teach it for you if you would like, but just putting it out there, you can, whatever. And she was like, are you kidding me? Yes. So I started doing that for her. And so that was maybe 5 years ago, maybe 5. I don't know. It was maybe almost 5 years ago. So I've probably been a nurse maybe 24-ish, 3. But yeah, so started that. And then just this past year, because I was strictly just doing anatomy for her when she would have a cohort come through, and then have my private clients. But starting this year, she was like, you know what? I need you to teach a class or 2. So she was like, I need you to teach a class or 2 when you're in town. So I said, okay, I'll start out doing restorative because I love teaching restorative. I'll do restorative. And she's like, okay, but you're going to have to teach more than that. Yes. And so I teach a class maybe once a week when I'm in town.
Nice. That is so cool. So how many teacher trainings have you been able to help facilitate since then?
Let's see how many cohorts. I think we're on our 5th one, maybe.
Nice. That's so cool. And it's always for the same studio, or do you bounce around to others?
I haven't expanded it out, but I'm open to that. The studio that I do it for is where I actually practice. So I haven't really advertised that I can do that, but I'm definitely open to doing it. And so it's just been with her studio.
Oh, I could totally see this being a hot commodity within the area, because just like she had her own, struggles with teaching it, so does everyone else, unless they are, very much into it or been doing it for a really, 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 really long time. Anatomy is one of those pieces where you really have to know various human forms to really be able to teach in a way that serves, the yoga instructor the way that it should, because of the variation that we have walking into the classes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you should totally think about that. I don't want to throw anything on your plate, though, because I am very famous for that. Like, seeing somebody have something, like, you should totally just branch out.
I've actually heard that before. So
but no, I could totally see
again and again. But yeah, that's why I said I'm open to it. It just hasn't happened yet. So I am open.
Just let me know if you want me to go ahead and just, put your name in the door or on the table, because I'll do it. I will totally do it.
I'm open to it. I'll put
yes, we need more people to understand anatomy.
Yeah, and it's also
okay.
So
Good.
I love
because I'm totally gonna shout you out.
I love the piece of it, the physical anatomy part, because that's what people, they see, because that's the ashanas and the physical anatomy alignment, making sure nobody's going to hurt themselves. But I also love teaching in the class. I teach about the metaphysical part and the physical part and your body holding on to. And so knowing that you have this internal system, and we talk about the ECS system and how, yoga helps activate that. And I love it. You get me started, I'll talk. Talk forever.
No, that's what I invite. I invite it. Talk all about it, because these are things that people do need to know. Not just instructors, but the people that are participating too, because it's your body that's moving around. We're just trying to learn how to guide you best. And yoga is literally all about understanding and listening to yourself, learning yourself, and that includes awareness of your body too. So it's like, spill all the beans. Don't hold back.
I think the hardest part for people, I think, is understanding to pay attention to the breath. They get well, my hips may not be flexible enough for me to do this or that or the other, but they don't get the fact, but you're holding your breath. I can see it, I need you to actually breathe for me. So sometimes that's the hardest part in anatomy, is getting people to breathe.
Yes. And this ain't related to anatomy, but just an experience I've been having lately with our instruction is guiding people to let the breath be the leader, like really just, kind of coaxing them into that, because oftentimes I get folks that just kind of blow through all the poses. I'm like, did you connect any of that with the breath? Hold on a second. Play follow the leader, breath first, then body. And to see the tension that pulls up into their face after a minute, I'm like, it's okay, but you got to breathe now. It's wild, but it's such a beautiful process, guiding people through this practice and seeing them, find something within themselves that they didn't have a deeper connection with before.
Yes. And the light that comes on when they understand, especially if it's a pose that you just totally hate and it's hard, if you breathe through it, it's better. It gets better if you just breathe.
Yes. So while you were going through your teacher training, did you kind of have it in your mind that teaching people yoga anatomy was something that you'd be interested in doing? And how did you get to that point, aside from that the owner kind of asking about it and dropping those quote unquote hints? But I think it was just destiny at this point.
Yeah, I think so too. The initial yoga teacher training that I went through, no. It was just personally just trying to get understanding of yoga, and just that's the geek part of me. And then actually what happened is there is a yoga teacher training that's specific for nurses. It's just for nurses.
Really?
And so, you know how yoga therapy is it was derived from physical therapy, from physical therapists and around physical therapists. Well, there's a yoga nursing teacher training. Right. So there's a yoga nursing teacher training that was founded by a nurse who's been doing yoga since the 70s. Right. And so she was a formal model and everything, and she had this program. And so I went through Yoga Essentials first. And then I went through the whole, and then she was like, contacting me, like, you need to do yoga teacher training with us. And I was like, no. Okay. And so I finally went through that. And when I went through yoga teacher training with them, we went back, because you're doing it from a nursing perspective, right? And so we went back through all of the anatomy and the physiology and she was like, this stuff, it. And she was like, and you have a unique perspective because you know it from your clinical training, but you also know it from practicing yoga these years that you've been practicing. And so intertwining it. And so that's what made me step out and be like, you know what, I probably could do this. I could do this. So, because when the encounter with the instructor at the yoga studio, I thought that was going to be a one and done. I was just doing it for her that time. I had no intention of doing this again.
Oh, yeah. Fate had something else planned for you. So what's the question I'm asking? Hold on. The train derailed. Where was I going? It was about the specific teacher training for nurses. How was that experience different from the teacher training that you used before? Like what kind of things could you pinpoint that you received in one and not the other?
So the original training is more, teaching you the yoga philosophy and the, Sanskrit words and it's all learning that and what the poses are. And it was focused on that. The yoga nursing teacher training was on most of the whole body system. So what is yoga doing for you mentally? What is yoga doing for you spiritually? What is yoga doing for you physiologically, right? So it was the whole body thing. And then incorporating the nursing assessment, because that's what nurses do, right? You assess, kind of determine what you're going to do, and then you put an interaction. And so incorporating that into, when you're teaching a yoga class or if you're working with a client, when they come in the room, the nursing doesn't turn off anyway. That doesn't turn off. But how can I incorporate this into yoga practice? No. And then it was just like, a light bulb went on. I was like, they're married. You can't, they're married together. They go together so perfectly. And so going through that training and seeing how I could just merge my two worlds together, I think that was probably why it was one of the best trainings I did, because it was like, all of this makes sense to me because all of this is me, right? All of this is me. So.
Yeah. That is really cool. I think I like that. I like that a lot. The fact that that exists is awesome. Because there was someone last season who is trained in psychotherapeutic yoga. So that's kind of focusing more on the mental aspects of yoga. And man, you're in that too?
Yeah, I went through that. I told you I'm a science geek, so I went through that part too. I went through that teaching.
Yes. I love that. Because again, like I said before, like merging the science backing with all of the ancient practices of yoga together is just so much more beneficial for people, because there are the folks that are skeptical, but when you can be like, well, this is something that is a real factual thing, you can study, it has been studied. If you want to learn or read those research papers, you can go for it. They're there. Yes, I think that's so great that we're able to marry those two, like you said, because they are connected right then and there.
Yeah, and I think going through
so tell me a little bit more about your business. Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, I was saying going through the psychotherapeutic yoga teacher training was more like therapy for me than it was for training, to be perfectly honest. It was like me going through weeks and weeks of therapy. And so it was like the emotional and all of the things that came out. It was, but it was worth it. It was like paying for therapy. it was my own.
That's how I felt about my shoot. Yeah, because that's exactly how I felt about both the 200-hour and 300-hour that I've been in. Like, they came at times where I was in deep transitions in life and just needed the support. And man, I don't know where I would have been without both of them, because they held me up. And I'm like, I paid a lot of money for this. Yes. But thank you for helping me.
Yes. And the
in so many ways, because I was a mess.
Yeah, the wonderful part about the psychotherapeutic yoga teacher training is because most of the people in there were clinicians. They were actually, I was a clinician, but from the physical part, they were actually therapists. So that's why I said it was really like getting to go to therapy every other week. It was amazing. It was amazing.
The Nurse Doc is Zen. Yeah. How did it begin? What things have you been up to, and where's it going?
Awesome. So how the Nurse Doc is Zen began is sort of how the same way I began doing yoga teacher training. Is the Nurse Doc is Zen was actually the logo itself was gifted to me as a Christmas present by one of my friends. So she knew that I did yoga and she knew that I was into it. And so she gifted me the logo, the Nurse Doc is Zen. And so then I went through the process of getting it trademarked. And so it is trademarked. But it started with that. She was like, you need that. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. She was like, no, you're teaching it and you're doing whatever. And so the business part of it developed when, I have my business, which is Eclipse Health Consulting. So I do health consulting, and that's what I've done. Under that, I put the Nurse Doc is Zen because that's the physical movement arm. And so I do, I was a speaker, I am a speaker. I did speaking for different companies, different things. And so that's what the Eclipse Health Consulting was. The Nurse Doc is Zen is my functional movement, yoga, meditation arm of it. So, but it came about because one of my best friends, she gifted me the logo for a Christmas present. And it was like, you need to do something with this.
Isn't it dope having friends that just have your back no matter what and just put you in places that you didn't even think for yourself? It's like, here's this thing. I see this for you. Now go be great.
It's amazing. And what's so funny is we met in we were working in a hospital because she's an occupational therapist by clinical training and I'm an RN. And so we were working at a hospital together, and that's how we met. And then she left and opened a gourmet chocolate business, right? because she make this amazing chocolate and amazing food. And we were like, you need to sell this. And she's like, nah. So she has done that full time. So she has a gourmet chocolate business. And she's been doing that for years successfully. And so when I started talking about yoga a lot, and then, I had one or two clients I was working with, she was like, this could totally be a business. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And then she was like, here, there's your logo. Go.
Right. One of the hardest parts is over. You have it, branding now. Boom. Go sell yourself out there to the world. But I'm curious, what's the name of this chocolate business?
Yes, definitely shout out her all the time. The name of her chocolate business is Candy Galore and More. And she's based out of Shreveport, Louisiana. She actually, I think it's been 2 years now, she added it's like a food truck, but it has a oven on there, and you can get fresh baked cookies delivered to you. You can smell them cooking it's amazing. I told her I could not. I was like, I could not
have a thing for
close
cookies
to you because I would weigh 1,000 pounds. Because it's amazing.
Yeah, because like any day that she's baking cookies, I'm with it. Give me snickerdoodle me real quick. Just give me that fix.
And that's the thing. It's every day. That's every day because she has an industrial kitchen. She's cooking every day, and she can custom make anything. Like I called her and I was like, I want some chocolate chip cookies, but I want them made with pistachios for someone. And she was like, all right, I got you. And just create it. So she'll just make stuff. If it's not on the menu, she'll just like, oh, okay, I can get that.
Shout out to the culinary gifted people because y'all make the world go round. You make life or that experience of life just something so much, and ironically, so much more to savor.
Absolutely. And I love it.
Like when you think about traveling, no, go ahead.
No, I was saying, I was like, I totally agree with you. I love it. I was like, because I know cooking is not my ministry, but I'm around everybody that can cook, so I'm good.
I hold my own in order to keep myself fed, but man, oh man, when I get around somebody that can throw down in the kitchen, I'm like, do your thing. I'm just going to watch in awe.
Yes.
So where do you see everything going for you, both Eclipse and the Nurse Doc is in? What kind of trajectory do you have for it? Or at least what kind of foresight do you have for it?
So honestly, the Nurse Doc is in has kind of taken over the Eclipse, really. Eclipse I kind of do every now and then, but the Nurse Doc
That's ironic.
Yeah, the Nurse Doc is in has kind of developed into this own thing. And so what's happening with me now is that, and I actually just came back from Thailand. So I went to Thailand in December with a group to teach yoga for the group. And so I partnered, it's a young woman who has a business with her husband, and they do luxury travels for brown families, right? And so they do these luxury travel events, and I connected with her, and she was like, can you come to Thailand and teach private yoga sessions for this group? I was like, heck yeah, let's go.
Right? That's dope as hell.
And I got to take my son with me. I have a 20-year-old, so I'm the mother of a Gen Z. So I have a 20-year-old college student. And so I got to take him with me, and he is he's the social media manager for my company, right? He does all my pictures and stuff. And so he went with me, did my pictures and stuff so he could post for me. And so it was amazing. We spent 5 days, almost 6 days in Thailand in December. And his birthday is in December. So that was his birthday gift. And so I partnered with her. I did that trip, and she has another one planned for 2024 to Dubai. I'm going to go and I'm going to do that trip as well. But in the meantime, this year, I'm actually doing my first actual wellness retreat myself that she helped me cultivate together. And so I'm doing a wellness retreat in November. So we're going to Costa Rica, and like she does luxury travel, right? So it's a wellness retreat in Costa Rica, but it's in this mansion that has a mountain view on one side and a private beach on the other. And we have private servants and a butler service and maid service and a private masseuse and all of, so she does that part of it. And then I'm teaching on, stress management and mindfulness and how you are your brand and how you do your business. So it's a networking for just women. We're only taking 10 ladies, but it's women in business and networking and how branding and keeping yourself together is, so forth. So that's what we're doing in November.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like, and going back to the Thailand trip, like how special is that to be able to go with your kiddo?
Yes.
Showing them the world and showing them that, you can do what you want to do or what your, dreams are. And you're their prime example. That's awesome. Like, how often does he practice yoga?
And that's the thing. When he was little, he would do it with me a lot. As he got older, teenage years, he was like, men don't. I'm like, child, yoga started with men, it started, so that's not, so, and now he's kind of coming back to it. So he mostly likes the meditation piece of it. The meditation and mindfulness, not necessarily the ashanas, which is fine. That's actually how I got into it too. First of all, was the meditation part. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I'll always opt for every other limb of yoga and skip asana as much as I can. I've just gotten into that space where asana definitely attracted me to it and, kind of kept me in it for a while. But once I learned more, I'm like, no, I like these other aspects so much better. So I will find my moments to meditate or, mindfully breathe, get some pranayama practice in, because asana for me and the way I know that I tend to practice can be tiring. So I'm working on inviting a lot more rest into my asana practice, because let me try. I will have myself upside down half the time.
That's why I love teaching the restorative classes. I love it. I just getting people to just calm it down. And when I teach, and you can teach, restorative different ways where you actually, the class is kind of full. But when I teach, you don't do anything. It's like, okay, I'm coming to your mat. If you don't want me to touch you, that's fine. But if you do, let me position you, and then you're going to just sit here and breathe. It's like, you'll do anything. I love that. I love that.
Nice. Yeah, that's become my favorite class to teach are, the yin and the restorative yoga classes. Oh, they feel good to me in the way that a practice does sometimes. So I'm like, yeah, anytime I can share that, absolutely, hands down favorite.
Yeah, I have one private client and all she ever books for me is yoga nidra. That's it. That's all. We don't do anything else.
It's like, that's all you need some days, most days. Man, I love a good nidra. So, with you being you're a Texas native, correct?
Actually, I'm a Louisiana native.
Huh. And so, wait, how long have you been in Texas?
I've been in Texas. My son is 20, so 20 years. I've been here as long as my son's been alive.
Okay. So you've had experience with yoga from Louisiana to Texas, right?
A little bit, but I wasn't consistent when I was in Louisiana. Not at all.
Gotcha. What were the differences between the yoga communities in both places?
When I was especially when I was in Louisiana, I didn't really see a lot of people that looked like me doing yoga or even interested in yoga at all. And so I was very hesitant about, I don't think I ever would have gone to a actual class in Louisiana. I don't think I would have.
Wow. And it feels a lot more diverse here.
It feels more diverse here, especially as far as having an opportunity to have actual teachers of color here.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that piece is definitely important. Because I know I'm not from here either. I come from Iowa, and I had a hard time finding other Black instructors when I first got here. It took, I want to say, at least the first couple of years before I really found or was able to experience it more. But I also noticed that the places that I ended up teaching, I was the only one too. So
Yeah.
I'm like, now I don't like this. Where's everybody at? I gotta find people because I will always enjoy myself in my practice, but some spaces are, let's just face it, are not exactly, Black folks friendly. So,
Yes.
Even though I'm still gonna get what I need out of my practice because I'm, capable of understanding, all right, they've got their thing going on. I'm going to do my thing over here. I'm just staying focused on self. And then I might not ever go back there again. But yeah, that was hard. But it's good to know that not everybody had that experience because I don't want everybody to have that same experience because, well, I'm talking about us in our community. Because this is important stuff. Yoga is extremely helpful, especially for the Black community.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes people are reluctant to it. So from my experience, because like I'm a Gen X, so I'm Gen X generation, right? And a lot of my clients are either Gen X or they're older, like much older, because I work with seniors a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting them to actually talk to me about yoga was a chore. Right? And so trying to, and even when I went through one of my yoga teacher trainings, I was like, I understand why you guys want us to understand Sanskrit or whatever. I will never use those with my clients because it was hard enough for me to get them to agree to do yoga. And now I'm speaking some language that they don't get. And then chanting, oh yeah, no, that's not about it's not about to happen with this particular group of people. And you have to be okay with that. And I think sometimes meeting people where they are and helping them to understand, me trying to get church ladies to understand that God is real cool with meditation, okay? And you know how I know he's real cool with meditation? Because it's mentioned over 200 times in the Bible. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, let's get into it. It's different types of meditation, being in the meditation state. And I'm like, and if he's okay with meditation, I'm pretty sure he's okay with yoga because meditation is yoga. And if you're breathing, you're doing yoga. And
thank you.
He is the breath, right? So it's just, you have to know how to bring things to people where they can accept it in the space that they're in. And I think sometimes when we're left out is because culturally, when you are privileged, you don't have to conform to include other people because, it's like either you come with me or you don't, right? And I think as me growing up, brown girl in Louisiana, because colorism is a whole nother subject, but me growing up a brown girl in Louisiana and learning how to not just live in that space of white privilege, but live in the space of you pretty for a brown girl kind of thing, and learning to navigate that made me I think this is kind of why I'm comfortable with that, is like I understand you kind of meet people where they are and you have to adapt it so that they can get the benefit of it, because the whole point is so that they can get the benefit of yoga, right? Whether you call it yoga or not, when I come to teach at your church and you say we just doing stretching, fine, whatever can get me in the door, right? Or we're not meditating, we're praying, whatever. As long as I can get you if you can get me in the door, you still get the benefit of it. And that's the point, that they get the benefit.
Yes. And that is a huge reason why I am standing 10 toes down on trying to get more representation in the yoga space, because of exactly what you said. There's a big cultural difference between the majority of people that are teaching yoga now versus the Black community that needs the practice too, and trying to get into these spaces. But there's that disconnect because you don't understand what things that they may be going through culturally, socially, and what their religious practices might be. And finding ways to interweave them or at least connect them somehow and make it relatable is extremely important. But if you don't even have that firsthand experience in the, in the community, then how are you going to be able to do so? Get somebody that can, and then you've opened the doors to so many more people. It's a shame that there isn't, a push for diversity in yoga studio staffing in a lot of these more popular places. Maybe not even the more popular places, but just a majority of the places. Yeah.
And I think that it's the understanding that there is a need for it. If you don't think that there's a need for it, you don't see a problem. It's like, you don't see a problem. You may not understand that a curvy Black woman, that when you look at her, you may think she's overweight, but we like, no, she's just curvy, right? She's just curvy. She may not feel comfortable in a class.
She's just thick.
Right. She may not be comfortable in a class full of very thin white. You know what I'm saying? Because she feels like you're looking. We already feel like, I think, this me talking personally, when I'm in a room, I already feel like a unicorn, like you're looking at me. My hair is I have locks, and it's already that. And then I'm trying to do a yoga practice and I don't know the words that you're saying. And so now I'm looking around and trying to figure, it's just a whole uncomfortable situation. And so if you want people to get involved in it and have the benefits of it, then you make them comfortable. You have to adjust to make them comfortable.
Oh yeah. Big time. Super important piece. Oof. Hopefully, as we continue to progress with all these, time or in general, I hope it changes faster than it has in the past. But given what happened in 2020 and everyone kind of just like taking the blinders off finally, I feel like we're on a much quicker trajectory. But there's still reluctance, and it's very visible, extremely visible. But I also love that we are creating our own spaces, so that way those that want to participate can. And I'm all for it. Like, I don't care if there's 5 million different groups of something, like even this. Like, I don't care. Get it out there, because you may be able to attract somebody that this other person couldn't, and vice versa, because everybody different strokes for different folks. So I'm grateful that we are in this space where we are feeling so much more empowered to be able to just step in and be like, nah, this is a space that we're going to make for ourselves, because we want this too. We need this too, and we can do this too.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I am so grateful and thankful for creatives like yourself for creating spaces for this to be a discussion and for this to even be put out there. Because like I said, I'm kind of, you give me a push and I'll go, but I'm not necessarily the person that's going to start the run, right? But I'll run with you once I get started, but I'm not necessarily going to start it. That's just the generation that I'm from, I think. And so it's amazing to see other people doing it and bringing it along. And I think with 2020, I think that started the conversation. And people, it was a lot of teacher trainings at that time where they were trying to include more diverse teachers because of what was going on. And I think that is great and amazing. I think it's so important. One of the things you said was that connecting, right? And understanding that what connects one person, what attracts one person may be different, right? But we're all connected. And the whole point is that we're trying to get a practice, a discipline into a community that, number one, needs it, because we're all always in flight and flight mode living in America, right? So a community that needs the skills and the being empowered enough to be able to down-regulate themselves, control themselves. One of the things with my son, I was telling him, you have to be responsive, not reactive. You can't afford to be reactive because the cost is your life. You have to be responsive. And in order to be responsive, you have to be mindful. And, that's yoga. And so bringing that into a space where people can have that discussion and understand that, and understand that's why communities of color needs this. It's not necessarily, which we do. You do need the Ashanas too, but let's start with being able to be reactive to situations, not reactive to situations, but responsive to situations. Somebody steps on your shoe, okay?
Yes.
Pause for a minute and breathe and think about what's going to happen if you kick it off in here. Because they stepped on your shoe?
Yes.
Really? Breathe a minute and decide, is it worth it? That alone could change our whole community.
Whew. You were saying so many gems right there, like dropping them all. Like, that whole responsive versus reactive thing. Because I even saw something about that on social media, and it just resonated so much. And it's something I never really, pondered before. Like, we really do have to pause and respond instead of, quick react, because if we quick react, we're posed as a threat.
Yes.
And I'm not necessarily a threat. I'm having a human experience just like anybody else, and I am allowed to react to something however my nervous system may choose, but I don't have that privilege as a Black woman. So now I have to pause, breathe, think about my actions, and then decide, is it worth my life?
Yeah, because now you're the angry Black woman. So it's not.
I hate that so much, but sometimes I'm like, let's embrace it, because I'm mad. I am angry.
And that's the thing, but that's okay, because everybody has that emotion. You have the right to be mad. And so you're not going to address the fact that what you did to me pissed me off. So you're not going to address the fact that what you did. You're just going to call me an angry Black woman. That's what we're doing. And so you have to be able to know that, to be able to function in the places that you are. At least that, for me, that has been my experience, because a lot of time in the spaces that I'm in, with me having a PhD, which me working in a biopharmaceutical space, I have literally been in a room of 2, 3, 4, 500 people, and it's 5 of us. And I might be the only Black woman. And so if I'm passionate and, if I get passionate, if I start moving my hands and I'm passionate, why are you getting so aggressive? I'm like, he's talking 10 octaves louder than me at me. And so I'm supposed to not respond to that? But you have to learn, and
Thank you for pointing that out.
You have to learn how to respond in a way of, and it's sad, but it's true. I had to learn to tell myself, you know what? I'm going to let him finish. And I have the art of reading people without changing my voice tone has become one of my superpowers. Because I'm going to tell you about yourself. Okay? I'm going to get you straight. But my tone is never going to go up. And I probably will, I'll be just a smiling and a sweet, bless your heart Southern woman that I am. But everybody from the South know that bless your heart can mean bless your heart, or it can mean F you. So they can mean
you stupid. Like, oh, you are acting very ignorant right now. Bless your heart. No, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because those are things that I've experienced in the yoga space too. Being painted as that angry, aggressive person because I'm so much more communicative with my hands or something, or when I get excited about things, I start talking a little bit faster, or feel like I have a very what's the word I'm looking for?
It's
Forward
passion.
presence.
It's passion.
Because I'm excited. Exactly. It's passion. Ain't nothing else to it. You'll know when I'm mad.
Yeah.
Or you'll know when I'm upset and aggressive. For sure. But right now, I'm just excited. So why can't I express that without you feeling like you're being threatened? That doesn't make any sense. And to have that happen in the yoga space, it hurts a little bit more because the space is supposed to be so much more open and unifying and, breaking down the barriers of the human existence and just bringing us all together. Yet you're still bringing these stupid things in to try to paint me as someone that I'm not. But because that's just how you're hardwired, you can't let it go, no matter how much yoga you practice. It's not cool. So, of course, that's exactly why I am extremely happy that we are creating our own spaces, because I can't talk like this and, get real, animated with stuff without somebody looking at me, like I'm losing my mind. I'm like, no. We're just vibing. We're just riffing. Have a conversation. Hey, what's so wrong with that? No one's out to get you. I promise. And if I was, you would know.
Like, it's like, honestly, I wasn't even thinking about you, really. I wasn't even thinking about you. It just, talking. I wasn't thinking about you, but I think that,
yes,
in those
it's
spaces,
always perplexed me.
Yeah, I think in those spaces, the biases come in, right? So when you are a person of privilege, and I know they're like, okay, well, you guys just you throw the race card. I'm not throwing the race card, but you also can't be in denial. You can't be in denial. You telling me that I shouldn't feel the way I feel is privilege. Because I can't say back to you.
Thank you.
I can't say that back to you, but you can tell me, well, you shouldn't feel like that. You shouldn't feel like that. We love you. You shouldn't feel like that. You can't tell me how I should feel. That in itself is privilege.
Drop that gem. Keep dropping them. Yes. Oh my goodness. Man, I could go on for days about this topic, but I'm going to cut it short because I want to circle it back and jump into a tradition that I have created for this platform, and it's for you to give advice to the masses. So, what advice would you provide to someone that is wanting to start a yoga practice? And second part to that question, what advice would you provide to someone that has been practicing it for a while and wants to move into teaching it?
So, for the first part, for someone who's wanting to start and they're wondering why, because usually the first pushback that I get is people will say, well, I'm not flexible enough to do yoga. I'm not flexible enough to do yoga. And so my response is always, the only thing that has to be flexible for you to do yoga is your mind. That's it. And so if you decide that you want to do it, then you'll be able to do it. And then I also tell them, I was like, and you understand that you practice yoga every day, right? And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, you're breathing. I said, you can just learn to purposely breathe. And that is a yoga practice. I was like, the things that we see on Instagram, the things that we see on the internet, most of the time, a lot of that is contortionism. I was like, I'm not that physically flexible either. But my practice is my practice. And I was like, and that's the thing, yoga practice. It's a practice. You keep doing it. It's not perfect. So that's what I usually tell people that are wanting to start, but they're not really wanting to start. And then for people that have been practicing a long time, I think my encouragement would be making sure that even if you don't consider yourself a yoga teacher, you are, if you're practicing, and to share that gift with the people around you. So you don't have to go to a class and get certified or whatever. It's the same kind of advice I sometimes give to young women when I'm talking to them. I was like, you have a sphere of influence, whether you have your own child or not. There is somebody watching you, somebody looking up to you. And so it's your responsibility to be a good role model for them. And so it's the same thing for people that have been practicing yoga and they have perfected tools within themselves to be able to navigate in the world. Share that, especially in our community, because I promise you, the art of just taking a minute to think before you do something, if we could get that, that would just be so game changing. And so that's my encouragement, is to understand that whether you've ever gone to a yoga teacher training or not, you are a teacher. And for people that have been practicing a while, and to share their gift.
I am so glad you said that, because the chokehold that the 200-hour certificate, why did I say it like that? Certificate has on this industry is immense. Because it was something that was brought to my attention. I mean, I've always felt a little awkward about it. I understand why it exists and, you know, why it should, because yes, obviously. But there was a South Asian woman that was a part of my 300-hour, and she came in to tell us about, you know, a little module that she was teaching that day as a guest instructor. And she brought up the point that yoga's been something that she's been doing her entire life, yet coming to the States and, you know, looking to teach, she basically would get turned away from places because she didn't have a piece of paper to say that she knew yoga. Like, so you're going to tell someone that has been practicing their entire life from the place that you have stolen this thing from is not qualified to teach it. You are out of your mind to think that you have that ability to say that. So I have my issues with the way that we learn about yoga here. I would love for it to be kind of like how it used to be, like an apprenticeship, where you find your mentor and you follow them, and they, you know, take you through the steps in an immersive way where you really embody it and understand it more so for yourself than for the ability to teach it to people. But will we get there? Probably not, because we are a very capitalistic society. And really, this industry has, you know, garnered a lot of money for people. So any way to churn out as many people as you can to create more revenue, that's where it's going to lie, unfortunately. At least I think. What do you think?
I definitely agree, because in the Western society, I tell people the same thing in the healthcare industry, right? We don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system because the money is in the treatment, not the cure. And we have to be real about that. You can't deny that. It's a fact. Follow the money. Okay? They're not trying to cure anything because the money is in the treatment. Yoga, it's a discipline. It's a discipline. So think about it. If you can get people to embody this discipline and everybody embraces this piece, how powerful would that be? And then the people that are in control, that's out of balance. So of course they don't, you try to make it as difficult as possible for people to reach that. And I totally agree with you. It's just unfortunate that if you want to teach in a studio somewhere, I collect pieces of paper. I tell people all the time, the papers I stack are degrees, right? That's just kind of what I do. I love work. So that's the paper that I stack. So I get it. I got all kinds of certificates and stuff, but you don't need that. There are natural healers. My grandmother was a natural healer in the community. A lot of times when things happen with my family, the stuff that I do is stuff that she taught me. It has nothing to do with my clinical training, right? But you can't. It's the same reason why. Well, I could get on that part. It's the same reason why midwives, right? At one point, the doctors were like, "No, you can't do that." You know why? Because an OBGYN makes a ton of money. So you can't have these midwives out in the community delivering these babies. So you have to make people think it's unsafe. And it wasn't the case at all. So it's in the Western society, unfortunately, it's a money thing. It's all about the money.
And again, this is another topic that I could go days talking about if you let me. But I will spare you all the dribble. And plus, we are getting near to the end of our time. So, Dr. Latora, tell us where we can find you either on social media or in person in Cedar Hill.
So you can find me on social media, on Instagram at the Nurse Doc is Zen. You can find me on Facebook. It's the Nurse Doc Zen Den. But if you put the Nurse Doc is Zen, I come up. So, and my website is thenursedocizzen.com. And I do teach at Choose Again Yoga Studio in Cedar Hill. Not in Cedar Hill. It's actually in Duncanville, but close to Cedar Hill. So I do teach at that studio. And it's a hot yoga studio, but they have non-heated classes. And so, like, the restorative and the yoga flow class that I teach is non-heated, but I practice hot. So I like the practice hot class.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Latora, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come talk with me, share your story, share these awesome insights. This was extremely fun, and I look forward to interacting with you again because I'm definitely going to come to a class now that I'm going to have some time now. I'm not going to be teaching as much anymore, so finally get a chance.
Awesome. I would love to have you, and I would love to meet you in person. And I just thank you again so much for this space. I think it's wonderful. I'm excited to see what's to come, and I'm excited about my new adventure of doing the retreats and that is just amazing. How that happened is just so amazing to me, but it was fun. It was fun.
Oh yes, it's only up from here, only up. All right, folks. Well, thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. Be sure to check back in next week for another awesome instructor. See y'all later. Hey there, Tierney again. I know you just finished the podcast episode and you're probably wanting to just go about your business or listen to the next one, but I have some exciting news. We're monetizing the podcast now. I know. This is so cool. It's so cool. But anyway, with that said, we are now able to take donations directly from the podcast. So if you're listening on Spotify, head to the show notes, and there is a link there that you can click to provide your support. If you are not listening on Spotify, we still got you covered. You can either go to the website or go to our link tree by way of our Instagram bio link. Your money would go towards supporting this platform in all of its ways, keeping the podcast alive, giving us the ability to offer programming in the future. And those programs will look like classes, workshops, and so much more. There's a lot planned for this platform and can't do it without your help. So if you do have it within you to help us out, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so very much. I appreciate everything that you all do for this community here. Be blessed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Yoga in Black podcast once again. New episodes air every Tuesday, and next episode I'll be chatting with Dewanda Dowdy. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor, and iHeartRadio, or you can check us out on YouTube. And if you want to connect with us, head to our website, www.yogainblack.net, or on Instagram at yoga.inblack, and also Facebook as Yoga in Black. See you next week. Bye.